Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about why I don't do Bulgarian training anymore and haven't for many years. And I actually had someone ask me in my video comments, hey, are you ever going to try Bulgarian training? And they asked it on my YouTube channel. Of course, this video will be on a couple different medias, but they asked me on my YouTube channel, and I thought that was interesting that someone asked me that because I documented Bulgarian training I guess 5 years ago or so, approximately 5 years ago, I ran it for 7 months straight. And I will never run it again. I'll never run it again. Uh, and it's not to say that high frequency maxing is bad. It's the nature of Bulgarian's a problem. And for those who don't understand what Bulgarian training is, uh, this was done, one of the head coaches who did it in Bulgaria was Coach Abijayev, and this was done during the Cold War. Okay, it was done during the Cold War, and with this training style, what ended up happening, the Bulgarians started winning all these medals in Olympic weightlifting. Right, and the system itself was built around the idea of maxing out every day. Now, we did for Bulgarian, usually in America, people will do Bulgarian light, which means you'll max out on a couple different exercises every day, maybe do a little bit of assistance work, and then you're done. In my case, when I did it, it was usually squat, bench press, right? I did squat and bench press, and usually would max on a weighted chin up pretty much every day, and then once a week I would max on a deadlift, okay? And I would do maybe sometimes a little bit of accessory work in there, but very, very, very little. Most of the training was just built around doing the heavy singles. Now, the Bulgarian training, they maxed on stuff every day. And usually when people will do the Bulgarian light, they'll call it squat everyday programs and things like that, to where you are literally squatting to a training max every day. Now, in Bulgaria, when they did it, it was multiple sessions a day, and they would max on squats, max on clean and jerks, max on snatches, but they max on a squat like 2 or 3 times a day, 6 days a week. They would just ramp up to a training max, like what they would call their daily max. Okay, and they would do this day in, day out. All right, now here's the issue with this for people doing other stuff. These people were in a communist country. They were all state athletes. This was their full-time job. Okay, this was their full-time job, number one. Number two, what they did, and the reason it was so effective, is not because the Bulgarian training itself was that great. It's that they weeded people out. Well, what do we mean weeded people out? Right, if you're going to train in that sort of manner with that sort of maxing, particularly on the same lifts, what are some traits that you need? Genetically, you have to have superior recovery ability, right? You have to have superior recovery ability. Number one. Now, also keeping in mind most of these lifters were probably on anabolics, okay? But you're looking at superior genes. So these are people who had already displayed a good propensity for strength. So we knew they had good strength genetics to even get into the program. All right, what this did, anyone who didn't have superior top-tier recovery genetics started breaking. Right, they started breaking. They would get injured, they would overtrain, they would get hurt. Because one of the problems is with high-frequency maxing is you can't do the same exercises over and over. We learned this in the conjugate system, which is why just in this background you see me and one of my clients here changing maxes all the time. We're doing different variations of the lift off of pins, changing grips, doing deficit deadlifts, changing bars, using bands, whatever we need to do to change the lift up to make it different. Well, they didn't do that. All right, so overuse became a big problem. But if you were really genetically gifted at recovery and tendon health and things, you didn't break, right? But other lifters broke, they got injured. All right, so you can cut the weak out right there. All right, you can cut out the bottom 95%. 90 to 95% of your people who don't have that top tier recovery ability, you can weed them out with the program, all right? So now you have genetically superior recovery. All right, what else do we see? The psychological components. And this is what eventually got me on the program. And I still have some negatives from it. I hate to squat. I hate squatting because of it. All right, people washed out if they couldn't psychologically hack it. You see where we're going with this? They required a special type of mental toughness to do this week after week, month after month after month, and not psychologically break under the pressure. So now it weeded out like 19 out of 20 people who got into the program who were already good lifters. 19 out of 20 washed out. Right, this is not a successful system for anyone to voluntarily use. Right, only the top 1 in 20 of already good lifters made it through the program. That's why they won so many medals. Because everyone who wasn't there either physically or psychologically broke. Now, my experience with it, I did great at first because I hadn't squatted for a long time. I was in a rebuilding process. I had taken over a year off from squatting completely because I had decided I wasn't going to compete in powerlifting anymore, so I didn't need to squat. I could just bench and deadlift and, overhead press and all that, right? Because I love deadlifts. Love deadlifts. All right, I had my squat right around low 400s again, very, very fast when I started doing the system. And I took it from running 425 every day up to about 475 to 485 day in and day out. Day in and day out, all the time. All right. I got to a point where I started waking up first thing in the morning, dreading squats. Like when I would wake up in the morning, I would have anxiety while laying in bed going, I have to hit a heavy squat this morning. Now, once I got the heavy squat out of the way, I was okay. It was the worst part of my day every day. I started dreading squats. Do you know what carried over to that? Years later, I don't like to squat. I don't like to squat. Because do the math, at least 6 days a week for 7 months straight, I did a training max. How many heavy singles is that? At least 24 a month. 7 months. I did around 200 max squats in 1 year. I hate squatting. The other thing, my body hurt all the time. I started finding myself getting injured easily. Like people were like, oh, what happened? You made a video explaining you walking up a flight of stairs, you pulled an adductor. Okay, yeah, it got that bad. All right, I used to have to lay around and try to rest as much as possible, put my legs up on pillows and stuff underneath my knees because my quad tendons, my patellar tendons hurt all the time. It started getting to where I was hurting, I was getting injured doing day-to-day stuff. I couldn't recover after a certain point, and I stuck it out longer than most people do before they wash out. But that was it. I couldn't handle it anymore, and I quit. So here's what I'm going to say to people. Don't run this system. It's a system designed to weed out the bottom 95%. To weed you out and break you. Okay, this program is a selection of elite genetics, not a superior training system. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.